minorities killed by police do not represent a significant increase enough to call it a racist issue. The numbers really show BLM to be a racist hate group, and that's it. The situations with Zaid Atkinson and Sammy Leon Lawrence IV show how playing a racist narrative makes the most marginalized in our society clearly not matter. It is obvious that Sammy Leon Lawrence IV was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai, the very same officer who assaulted me months earlier. But you didn't want to hear it from me. I'm the wrong color. I'm the wrong gender, and most importantly, I'm homeless. By the way, I was forced into homelessness by Natalie Bollinger's death, and have been repeatedly forced into homelessness since because of that. When we look at the marginalization of minorities in Boulder, Colorado, we're talking about a 5-to-1 ratio over their white counterparts. What they don't pay attention to is that nearly all of those black people who were in jail were homeless when they were arrested. Many of them were beaten and charged with assault against a police officer. But it ain't just the black ones. It's not just the native ones or the ones who speak Spanish. If you're homeless, and nobody cares. BLM certainly doesn't. The majority of their statistics, as in over 95%, comes specifically with the tag of male. Males only. Being murdered by police is almost exclusively a male club. It's even greater than that, your chances as a homeless person. When I tell you about the numbers and the significance of it, of black people versus the homeless, 2019, 49% of those killed by the police were homeless. That's only 1/100th only 1/120th the population size of black people in the United States at the time. And still, they accounted for more than double the number of killings by police. We do not matter to BLM. We don't matter to Congregation Har Hashem in Boulder. We don't matter to the Assembly of God in Chapel. We no longer matter to the Foursquare Church in Tacoma, Washington. The things that you tell us, it's wrong if you say it about a black person. It's wrong if you say it about a native person. It's racist. It's racist. But it's okay for you to say it about the homeless. It's okay for black people to say it about the homeless. It's okay for natives to say it about the homeless. The homeless are a bunch of alcoholics. The homeless are a bunch of thieves. The homeless are a bunch of rapists. Those homeless are all here because they hopped across the border illegally. The insanity of the stuff that you're selling, but BLM isn't any better. Sammy Leon Lawrence IV was recording while with a group of homeless people. He was harmed because it was assumed he was homeless and because he was sticking up for the homeless. And there is immediate retaliation for that. Time and again, I have been through it. Because while Sammy Leon Lawrence got help in person immediately, he had the support of a racist network like BLM, who wants to sell the narrative that we ain't got it that bad because we're white. White, 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 white. So you victimize the most victimized people in America because of which white people? White people who died hundreds of years ago? Some of them might have died 100 years ago. I'm not that white guy. How about Congress? How about the Senate? I'm not one of those white guys. But you want to clump me into that category. I'm one of those white guys just because of the color of my skin. A black male has a 1 in 1,000 chance, apparently, and I've looked at the numbers. They're not that great. They're not. But we'll pretend, for their sake, they have a 1 in 1,000 chance as a black male of getting killed by police in their lifetime. A homeless person has a 1 in 1,000 chance of being shot by police every single year. Then we got to decrease that, though, don't we? Because 30% of those are women, and they're not at a significant risk of being shot by the police. They're not. Not even close. 4.3%. 4.3% of those killed by police last year. This year, so far. 4.3% were women. That's it. That is not a significant number. Also, we should probably look at how many of those were... God, how do you say that without insulting someone? Or someone getting butthurt and pretending to be insulted. Someone who's of an alternate sexual lifestyle. When we look at the fact that the homeless in Boulder County, while a black person, very specifically homeless black people, just so you know, nobody wants to be accused of being a racist. If they'd have known Zaid Atkinson was at the hippie college, well, it's the hippie college. I mean, it's not like it's CU. These people are, how do I say it? Holistic in a tarot card way. That's Naropa University. They're holistic in a, we're going to eat fresh green vegetables, but we're also going to gaze into crystal balls and play with crystals kind of way. In a, yeah, we're kind of sort of psychologists, but mostly because we're messed up and we did a lot of acid kind of way. So they're not exactly well respected. They get about as much respect as the homeless, I guess. Quite a bit more, actually, because they still have a roof over their head. They still have rights, and they still have a student union to protect the students' rights. With me and the way that I was painted, you can see why it is that people look the other way. They didn't care if it was true or not. They just wanted to keep their distance just in case. Well, obviously I didn't do those things, but you don't want to look. You don't want to speak. You don't want to admit to your part. Well, you don't have to admit to your part. I'll do it for you. I'll show your words. I'll speak your words for you. Why? Because I have them screenshotted. Because you did speak those words. Because you did say those things. And it is not wrong of me to be honest about it. This is how I'm keeping my vehicle warm. It's sunny out right now, but it's still significantly chilly. Now we've got a lot of numbers that you guys don't want to look at. When we look at the fact that 30% of those people are women and they're not likely to get killed. So we got to take 30% of those people out. And the fact is, when you take all of the statistics down, you take away the female part of the population and you focus on the number of people who are getting shot by the police as homeless people. The most significant numbers of, well, nearly every group. MMIW posted up about Selena Not Afraid disappearing. The year before that, this is up in Hardin, Montana, by the way. The year before that, her sister was killed around Christmas time. Her sister Teresa was hit and run by the airport outside of Billings. She also had a younger sister by the name of Zoe Not Afraid, twin sister, and she was the youngest suicide in Montana history. She was 11 years old. Preston Bell, that's Selena Not Afraid, also went by Selena Bell. Her Facebook was Selena Bell. Now, Selena Bell, her brother was shot by police. It's very significant. Now, I don't know if he was homeless or not at the time. Statistically, he probably was. For every 100 homeless people that are killed by police, they kill somebody in a house. And then you guys, what? You pretend to care? You guys go, oh, they killed George Floyd. But why is George Floyd significant? Why aren't any of the other victims significant? Why is Zaid Atkinson more important than Mark Swanigan? They're both black. Why is Sammy Leon Lawrence IV so much more significant than Mark Townsend? They're both black. Mark Swanigan has been assaulted by border police on multiple occasions. He's been assaulted in front of multiple people. He's been falsely arrested multiple times. You get to see how Mr. Miles' family got $3.2 million because Mr. Miles was falsely arrested. But you guys want to point out the fact that he's white. What about the fact that he had a roof over his head? He had rights because of that roof over his head. People actually cared because he had that roof over his head. And although his family and their cruelty is what led directly to his suicide, by the way, he was also one of the people involved in the Natalie Bollinger situation. Threats, harassment, intimidation, and hate-mongering. You know what he got for his troubles? His predators got paid $3.2 million by the citizens of Boulder, Colorado for the wrongful arrest of Boulder police. Boulder police didn't kill him. He didn't commit suicide in their custody. That was $3.2 million just for a wrongful arrest. Now look at what Zaid Atkinson got. Look what Samuel Leon Lawrence IV got. Now look what I got. A shit ton of debt. Social isolation. That's what I got. That's what I got when I hurt my back and couldn't take care of myself anymore, with social isolation. Social isolation. Natalie Bollinger and Maddie Boa rescued me from that. From all of you Facebook assholes who forgot I exist in real life. Many of you, I was in Boulder, Colorado for 6 months, at least, after I hurt my back, where you guys could have done something, where you just wanted to type pretty words at me on Facebook and you were 2 blocks away. You made me feel very insignificant. Every time you wanted to type those pretty words. So my physical disabilities resulted in social isolation. Natalie Bollinger and Maddie Boa lying about me, and Alicia Bollinger too, resulted in even more social isolation. When I asked for help, it resulted in even more social isolation because a man is not supposed to ask for help. He's supposed to man up and take it. He's supposed to shut up and take it. If he's retaliated against because he spoke up about a woman abusing him, then he somehow magically deserves the abuse because he spoke up. Somehow the telling on your predator justifies the predation to begin with, somewhere, somehow, some way. This is not common sense, this is stupidity. Who the hell would want to listen to this country about anything knowing this, knowing that the American public is more ignorant of how their government operates than the average British citizen, the average Australian citizen? You don't see how much money is spent to lock up the homeless just for being homeless. How the majority of those railroaded by the courts that were black were also homeless. The majority of those within the Hispanic community, same thing, they were homeless. You also get to see how, since border police doesn't know how to investigate a crime, how they try to blame the homeless for everything. They blame the homeless for every single fire, and even after they find out that it wasn't the homeless, they'll put a big old thing about how that big old fire was probably a homeless person. Every time. And then when they find out who it was that actually did it, it's a little tiny mention on the very back page that says, oh, by the way, it was an off-duty firefighter who was practicing putting out fires. Dummy. I'm also disabled. That puts me in a much higher bracket. Statistically, the disabled and the black populations both had an equal population size in 2019. It's very significant because 51% of those killed by police in 2019 were disabled. Only 22% were black. That shows a very significant increase. Police know who they can murder, and that's who they murder. They know who they can get away with murdering. If you're disabled and homeless, no one gives a shit and be out there. We have rules and measures and checks and balances in place that only work if you care about that person. If nobody cares about that person, if all of the people in their lives are selfish assholes, or they don't stop and go, all right, well, this homeless person who comes into where I work, who is good to all of us every single day, who walks us out to the garbage can to make sure that we are not assaulted. And then there's your friends at college that you go out and you go drinking with, you go partying with, you go to the library with, you have study groups with, you actually interact with. Those are your actual friends. That homeless person who's nice to you is just a pity case. You're not going to expend time towards him to help him when he's abused the way that you will one of your college girlfriends who goes to the bar and gets too drunk and leaves with somebody they shouldn't have. Meanwhile, when that happens, yes, we all get that that person is an adult and that they wanted to scream at the top of their lungs in the bar that they're an adult and they can leave with whoever they want to. But the next day, that young woman is asking for a lot of support from you that really what you got from the night before is, all right, she's really drunk and she's throwing herself at this guy like a $2 hooker, and she is out of control, and she's not going to listen to us. And sometimes you let her go with that guy, and then it doesn't turn out good, and then you pretend like all men are that guy. Meanwhile, the evidence of the situation doesn't point to him being that way, and we just have to take her word for it. Meanwhile, the evidence that shows everything leading up to it shows exactly the opposite of what she's saying. And we all know those situations. We all know those people. But we're expected to drop everything for them, aren't we? And many of you will. Will you do that for a homeless person? There are 15 services for women exclusively for every co-ed service. Nearly all of the men-only services are only if you're a felon, or only if you're a drug addict. So now you will only help the drug addicts and the felons, the very people that you drop off on the streets to victimize us, their victims. You drop them off back out on the streets, but then you give them services because poor them, they're drug addicts, poor them, they're felons. I was in prison. I don't get those felony perks. Do you know why? Because I'm not a felon. They had to drop the charges. I was put into prison so Scott DaCosta could prevent me from turning him in and prevent me from turning in Leslie Snell, his co-worker, his employee, and her friend, registered sex offender Robert Franklin Warnick, for crimes that they were all three working together and committing against me. Now, Scott DaCosta has access to an entire sheriff's department. There's no police department. The area is too small. The hatred towards the homeless is phenomenal, and I wanted to give you the numbers, but it's difficult because right now all I can think about is having to pee. Good to be ready. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.